So I'm going to tell you a little bit about my company. My company's it's called Sandboxx, and our goal is to simplify military lifestyle. Has anybody by chance heard of Sandboxx? Probably not. Oh, you have? Yeah, exactly. So we just launched in November. We're a mobile app on the iOS right now. I encourage you guys to download Sandboxx. We're releasing the Android version in June, and the web app's coming out next month. So it's a pretty cool way to better connect our military and veterans and family community. I can tell you all sorts of great stories about that. But I want to talk to you guys about marketing fundamentally. And you know, when you think about starting a business, you obviously have to find a problem. And when you see a problem, then you have to say, okay, how big is this problem? You know, is this problem a certain head count size? Is it a certain dollar size? But you have to equate that problem with some sort of size. And once you've done that, you have to figure out who the customers are to solve that problem. I think a lot of this is fairly straightforward. But then when you think about how to actually create a go-to-market strategy around solving that problem, that's where you find a lot of companies where they've taken the philosophy, if you build it, they will come. That is absolutely not the case. And even just in my experiences with Sandboxx alone, we've built a really cool app.
What's the name of the app?
It's Sandboxx with 2 X's.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Sandboxx, sorry about that. Yeah, Sandboxx 2 X's. But even though we built this really cool app and launched it, and we thought that we were going to have folks coming in droves to check this thing out. And although we've had a really solid user growth so far, it was not nearly what we expected off the bat. And so what we learned is you really have to create a marketing and go-to-market strategy that makes sense. And there's a couple ways to do that. And I want to stress the importance of PR to begin with. Have to get your brand out there. Your brand is your most important asset. You've got to protect it. Your brand has got to be tight. It's got to look good. It's got to have a flavor to it, and it's got to have a uniqueness to it that everyone can kind of identify with. And whether it's a logo or it's your type font or your typeface or an experience around your brand, which you create with a video or some sort of marketing activity, you have to remember that is the image of your company. And if that thing doesn't look good and feel good off the bat, you're not going to put people off. You put people in the right frame of mind as they enter your brand. And so, from a PR perspective, when you think about marketing, where are your channels of access? And so, for instance, for Sandboxx, where are the channels of access for the military? For us, it's through the VFW. For us, it's through the military service organizations like Blue Star Families, with folks like MWR, MCCS in the Marine Corps, Navy Life for the Navy. Those are our channels of access. And so, in order to grow Sandboxx, we wanted to, use those channels. So we've partnered with those groups in order to access the channels of the military. And so whether you're starting a landscaping business or you're coming up with some sort of new e-commerce idea, being able to create some sort of buzz and some PR around what you're doing is totally invaluable. And it has to do with the way that people actually engage and use a product. Some people, first time they see a product, they'll download it, they'll buy it, whatever the case may be. Some people, it takes 2 or 3 or 4 times, maybe 5 times before they're introduced to a brand before they'll buy it or they'll use it. And PR is what magnifies that. And if you think about that, if you're the kind of person that needs to see something 3 times, if a little bit of PR that you've done, showed it to them the 4th time, it just solidifies the fact that it gives you credibility as a brand when you build your company, whatever it may be, in order to get out there. And so I just want to stress that you can't start PR early enough. Even before you have a product, when you've got an idea, when you've identified that problem, get the PR ball rolling. And there are many great ways to do that. And the best way to do that is growth hacking. Is anybody here familiar with growth hacking and how that works? I want to give you the best example of growth hacking. Who's familiar with Airbnb? Airbnb? Airbnb is this really cool app that's out there. It allows you to kind of rent your own apartment, kind of like Craigslist, if you will, to folks that are coming into town if you're out of town. And it's a great way to make some extra money on the side. Well, Airbnb, to growth hack, used Craigslist as a way to get apartments onto their app. And so what they wrote a simple little algorithm that went and looked across Craigslist and took the ad that was on Craigslist and put it on the app directly. It was a wonderful way of being able to drive supply for their app, putting apartments on the app that people could actually go out and rent. Another example of growth hacking, simple as it is taking pamphlets into a neighborhood and putting them out on cars. If you've got a landscaping business, or if you've got something, some sort of consumer-driven business that is defined around a demographic or a geographic area, why not just print up a bunch of cheap flyers and just go put them on windshield? It's a great way to growth hack, and it's really cheap. There are many expensive ways to spend money for PR that can get you millions and millions of impressions. But when it comes to being able to be efficient with your marketing dollar and how to get your brand out there, you want to think about these growth hacking techniques and have a very clear, concise understanding of what your opportunity offering is and what your consumer is expecting from you. A lot of times I've seen people come out with business models that say, I want to do this, I want to do this, we're also going to do this, and we also do this. I'll tell you what, do one thing really good. Pick one thing that you're really good at and make that shine. I think it's easy after you secure a customer for one thing. If you're selling a really cool toothbrush or whatever the case may be, sell that one cool toothbrush and then offer them up the toothpaste on the side or whatever else you put in that deal. But make sure that your company has one clear, concise image around what you're doing so the consumer is not confused. Because you have to remember that as I'm talking to you right now, each of you are thinking about, I got to pick up my kids today, my dog, blah, blah, blah. Everyone's got their own problems in life and has all the things that are going through their own head right now as I'm speaking to you. You might be checked out, and you have to think about that when you're talking to your consumer. What is your consumer thinking about? What are they going through? So how can you put your brand and what you're doing and your offering in front of them in the clearest, concise manner so that they can instantly make a decision whether they want to be a part of your brand or whether they do not want to be a part of your brand? Because waiting and to dilly-dally with a customer is wasting your time as well as wasting theirs. Don't waste anyone's time. So make sure that your image is very clear and concise when you bring your product to market, whatever it is. Fundraising is a bitch. And I've been, when I got out of the Marine Corps, I stumbled into Wall Street and I got into a fundraising job, and it was pretty cool. I learned a ton. But I will tell you over and over and over again, how many people say no? How many people slam your door in your face? You've got to let that drive your passion for raising more capital for whatever you're doing. And I'll say some businesses don't need to start with capital. Sometimes you can, if you can start a business with your own capital and use growth hacking techniques, do it. But some businesses do need capital to start. And so one of the things I wanted to tell you about that is I've been in the venture capital and asset raising space for a while. There is a ton of cash out there. It is waiting to go to businesses. And all they need is a very clear business plan and understanding what you're doing. And once you have that, there are some awesome channels to use. One of those channels I want to discuss with you guys today is a website called Gust. I'm not familiar with it. It's gust.com, Gust.com, and it's one of the premier angel and investing communities out there. It's something I've used, I've raised capital on, and I love it. There's another one called angel.co, which I think you guys should use, and it's a fabulous website for raising capital for your businesses. And you can raise anywhere from $10,000 to $5 million on these channels. But leverage these channels not only to raise capital, but to learn how other people are raising capital. Look at other people's business strategies. Understand your own market and what else is out there to refine your image. Because when you sell an investor on your product, you also have to remember that not only you have to sell them to be a consumer, but you have to sell them in the future value of your company. And you have to show them the growth of that. I want to help vets start businesses. I don't think there's any better group of folks to lead economic drivers in today's community and economy. So if any of you guys do have businesses that you want to start, please come to me. I've got some business cards on the table.